occurred to me, as we apparently don't have a monitor in the studio at the moment, that if I hook up my YouTube on my phone, I'll be able to monitor the program and see what we did. We find a way around everything on this show. Although I'll probably be about 7 seconds in delay, so never mind. Hello, everybody. If you are watching us on YouTube, on the In Pit Lane YouTube channel, or if you're watching us right across Melbourne and Geelong on Channel 31 for another edition of In Pit Lane. Now, coming up in a couple of weeks' time out at Sandown, one of the biggest events of the local motorsport calendar. It's the 25th annual Historic Sandown. And joining us a little bit later to tell us about what is going to be a huge weekend of motorsport will be our guest from the VHRR, Brian Reid. Also coming up a little bit later in the program, no international news tonight because the guys from the World Endurance Championship sent across to us a great interview with Mark Webber. As you may know, Mark last week announced his retirement from professional motorsport, and Louise Beckett from the World Endurance Championship, the pit lane reporter there, has an interview with Mark, and we're going to run that a little bit later on in the program as well. Also, we've got some fantastic music there. We had some good response last week to the music. Wait until you see this week as well. Our music people have just done really, really well. Sarah C will be joining us a little bit later in the program, but right now, let's find out what's been happening, not just in Australia, but right around the world. Well, more in Australia. This is the In Pit Lane Motorsport News. Well, the Bathurst 12-hour race may be still 4 months away, but the expectation of next year's event grows day by day. BMW have announced their two-car local team for the race, and if experience is any indication of success, then this team will be very, very hard to beat. The government's move to encourage the elderly into the workplace seems to be working, as the lineup for the second BMW M6 for next year's Bathurst 12-hour race was revealed. Drivers Mark Scaife, Russell Ingall and Tony Longhurst bring plenty of experience to the mountain, with 10 Bathurst 1000 wins between them. Longhurst is also a former 12-hour winner from back in the day when it was a production car race that nobody cared about.
I started my career back in 1984 with Jim Richards, and this will be my last time at the mountain with Steve. So, yeah, it's pretty neat. And with BMW, that's very special for me.
The return of these former greats is just another indication of the incredible growth of the 12-hour race and its local and international stature.
It's a world-class endurance event, and the field, not just with the manufacturers, but the quality of drivers from all around the world. It's going to be very interesting.
Well, a great opportunity to drive a true race car in the BMW M6 around one of the world's best circuits here at Bathurst at the 12-hour in February. So really looking forward to it. So that's the first part, and then roll in the second part with whoever thought that myself and Mark Scaife would be pairing up together to do an endurance race. I would say none, but we are.
The car will be run and prepared by Steve Richards Motorsport and will run alongside Richards' own car in the event.
This is a very serious campaign. We have expectations of those guys running on the lead lap all day, and then at the end of the day seeing where they pop up, and with the right driver in the right car, as we know, at the 12-hour at the right time, it can make all the difference. So we're going there with a full-on two-car attack for that race.
There's no doubt that the team is taking the challenge very seriously, and preparation has already begun, with test sessions at Phillip Island and more on schedule.
We've got to try to plan from now, the next 4 months, get really comfortable in the car and make no mistakes. And 12 hours around Mount Panorama, huge task. 12 hours at one of these cars makes it double as hard.
With so many Bathurst victories between them, it's hard to imagine any other team with such an impressive pedigree on the mountain.
And we've got a pretty trick team, so very, very fortunate to have Mark and Russell on board with Steve and his crew, and we've got the cream of the crop, so we've got the right people around us. There's no egos, it's nice and calm, and very, very experienced team.
And Porsche Motorsport will also be throwing their weight behind the Bathurst 12-hour race. Porsche Cars Australia Director of Public Relations and Motorsport, Paul Ellis, told In Pit Lane that the company will be providing both technical assistance and factory works drivers in a major effort at next February's event. He also revealed plans to stage a round of the local Carrera Cup Series in Asia in 2017. There are a few manufacturers in the world more synonymous with sports car racing than Porsche, and at next year's Bathurst 12-hour race, the company is committing some serious resources in search of victory.
The Bathurst 12-hour is becoming increasingly important on the global GT stage because it takes place in the Australian summer. A lot of the European manufacturers use it as a good way to start their season because of the weather. Okay, so racing in weather, racing in Europe that time of the year isn't great. It's too cold. Don't learn too much, but in Australia you get all the elements, you get the heat, you get a famous track like Bathurst. It's a real engineering test for the cars before they start the European season. So for us, in 2017, we'll have a very strong presence at the Bathurst 12-hour. We'll have works drivers coming out to Australia. There'll be entries from private teams, but they'll also have the assistance of Porsche from the head office motorsport Boffins in Weissach through to our local parts truck here in Melbourne. We're all going up to help them out.
Mr. Ellis also announced that following the success of this year's visit by the Carrera Cup Asia Series to Australia as part of Rensport at the Sydney Motorsport Park, that Australia's Carrera Cup Series would be heading offshore for a round in Asia in 2017.
The first combined round that we ran with Asia at Sydney Motorsport Park was an absolute success. It exceeded our expectations as Porsche Australia, and I know it exceeded the expectations of our visiting Carrera Cup Asia competitors and stakeholders. So our plan is to do a reciprocal round in 2017 in Asia. So we'll take our Carrera Cup teams, we'll freight their cars across, and we'll race at an FIA-approved F1 circuit, and we'll race with the Asians. So it'll be great fun.
So if we're talking that, I'll be talking Sepang or Shanghai?
Most likely Sepang at this stage. We've still got to put the full stop at the end of that, but it's looking more likely to be Sepang.
And in fact, earlier today it was confirmed that that race will take place at Sepang next year. Well, for the first time in 37 years, the roar of Formula 5000 racing cars will once again thunder around Barbagallo Raceway just north of Perth. The stock block 5-litre V8 powered single-seaters last ran at Barbagallo back in 1979 when the track played host to the Australian Grand Prix. They're finally returning this weekend thanks to the efforts of organisers of the annual Shannon's Perth Classic. The track will also play host to the first round of the Trans-Tasman Revival Series, as well as the new Trans-Tasman Challenge, which has been contested across the first 4 rounds of the series, Perth and Sandown here in Australia, and Hampton Downs and Bruce McLaren Motorsport Park in New Zealand. After this weekend's round at Barbagallo, the series will head east to Melbourne for the second Australian round at the 25th Annual Historic Sandown meeting over the November 5th and 6th weekend. And we'll preview that big event right after this break and also tell you how you can win a ticket to the big race. You're watching In Pit Lane. We'll be right back in just a moment. Yes, stay tuned if you're watching on, for all of you watching on YouTube Live. How are you? I've got to tell you tonight, we are in chaos tonight. It's been a pretty chaotic night. I'm in absolute agony. It took me nearly 90 minutes to get here through appalling traffic. The slightest drop of rain, a tablespoon of water, randomly falls on the southeastern freeway, and it's utter chaos. So it took me well over 90 minutes to get here tonight. So we're running behind schedule and we're short of crew, and I don't want to bore you with our terrible details, but I will let you know that yes, coming up a little bit later on, we do have an interview with Mark Webber about his retirement, and thanks to Fiona Miller and also to Louise Beckett from the World Endurance Championship for making that available to us. But we're going to be joined by our special guest, Brian Reid, in just a moment. He's in position right now, and I think we will be able to throw to him in just a moment. So if you're watching in the control room, and God, I hope they are, we will come back in whenever you're ready. Give us a countdown, guys.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
Welcome back. You're watching In Pit Lane on Channel 31 and, of course, live on YouTube. Now, coming up in a couple of weeks' time is the Historic Sandown, and it's going to be a huge meeting. Not just the Formula 5000s, but a whole lot more, including a special tribute to the one and only Sir Jack Brabham. And to take us through what we might see in the next couple of weeks is from the Victorian Historic Racing Register, Brian Reid. Brian, thanks once again for joining us.
Great to be here. Thanks, Brett.
Now we spoke about the Formula 5000s. They're going to be a really big attraction. They always get lots of people in. What's the entry list looking like?
Well, they're running them in over at Barbagallo this weekend, and the really serious stuff, I think, will be at Sandown on 5th and 6th of November. It's the Shannon's Insurance Formula 5000 Challenge, Australia versus New Zealand. A very strong contingent coming over from New Zealand. That Kenny Smith is just a remarkable little bloke over there. He's in his 70s now, but my God, he's hard to catch. But anyway, there's a strong team coming over from New Zealand to take on the best of ours, and looks like a field of 20 cars.
Yeah, and 20 Formula 5000s is something to both see and hear and feel.
Well, they're calling the meeting the Return of the Thunder, and I think that's very appropriate.
Also at Barbagallo this weekend is the Formula Juniors in action, and I believe they're coming over as well.
Yeah, there's a special Jubilee celebration of Formula Junior, worldwide class, of course, Formula Junior, and it's seen a great revival in Australia over the last few years, and mainly to the efforts of a fellow called Roger Eland. And sadly, Roger passed away earlier this year, but his wife's coming down from Sydney to present the trophies for that. And that's an international field, and it's actually part of a world tour.
So what else will we see there? I mean, is it all the usual suspects? Will we have, for the touring car fans, what will they be seeing?
The focus this year will be on Group N, and that means we'll see the Chargers, the Monaros, the Mustangs, the Lotus Cortinas, cars of that ilk. And
so that's supposed to be pre-72?
And 70 of them, 70. So
70?
Yes, in fact, there might even be a few more than that, but it's going to be a huge field of touring cars.
Yeah, that's a very impressive turnout. I was unaware that it was that many.
Yep.
Yeah, that's just for that reason alone will be worth going. Then you put the Formula 5000s on as well, plus all the other categories. I imagine Group S and those, they always put on a good field as well.
A big field of Group S, Brett. 40 cars in Group S, so it's going to be a bumper meeting.
And they're the classic sports cars, your 911 Porsches, your Corvettes.
All of those.
That's fantastic. Yeah. It's becoming a really big meeting. We first covered the meeting in the first series of In Pit Lane 20 years ago, and our final show of the series was a 1 hour special on the Sandown Historic, which we called A Moment in Time. And you were we actually interviewed you on that program, but we also interviewed a guy called Sir Jack Brabham. And coming up this weekend, we've got another tribute to the great Sir Jack Brabham.
Yes, it happens to coincide with the 50th anniversary of Jack winning his third world title in a car that he called the Old Nail.
Yes.
And it was the BT19. And in 1966, when he ran that car, it was actually obsolete, and he'd replaced it with a later chassis and some U-Butte bits on it and so forth. And then he tested both cars, and he liked the feel of the old BT19, and it went on and won 4 Grand Prix that year and clinched Jack's third World Championship. That car will be at Sandown on display. It's a magnificent machine.
I remember the first time we interviewed him, or just after the interview, we spoke about that car, and I recalled saying to him that I had a magazine which was I think it was an old copy of Autosport or something, previewing the year ahead, and it sort of said underneath, "So Jack Brabham has made this insane idea of hotting up a old Oldsmobile engine or something like that, and he thinks it's going to be competitive." It was almost like he's obviously delusional, and he came up and he beat Ferrari, he beat BRM, he beat Lotus, Ford, Cosworth, all of those people with that Repco engine developed here in Melbourne.
Exactly, that's right, and it was a conservative package, and it was reliable. It didn't have the horsepower of the Ferraris and the Lotus, but it certainly had the goods on the track, the great handling and so forth.
So how big is this meeting, just as we go there, and we'll give people the opportunity to win some tickets in just a moment, but how big is this meeting?
Well, it ranks with the biggest in Australia. It's a very important meeting, and 25 years, that's a long time for it to be running. Phillip Island and Sandown, which is Phillip Island being another event organised by the VHRR, they're the two biggest meetings in Australia. and we're very proud of what goes on at Sandown. And it's going to be 2 days of terrific action, 40 races over the 2 days, and we're hoping for good weather. In fact, we know it's going to be good weather.
Well, yeah, as much as we can predict at Sandown. Brian, thanks for coming in. We look forward to. We'll certainly be out there, and we hope to see you out there. But if you're not going to, if you can't make it, we'll have highlights on the In Pit Lane News the following week. But now, Brian, thanks for joining us in Pit Lane.
My pleasure, and look forward to seeing you out there, Brett.
We will certainly be out there, and here's an opportunity for you to be out there as well. If you would like to win one of 5 passes, we've got 5 tickets to give away to this year's Historic Sandown, courtesy of the Victorian Historic Racing Register. Then all you have to do is go to the In Pit Lane webpage, inpitlane.com/competition. There's a very, very simple question there. It's so simple, I've forgotten what it is, but it's a very simple question, and you can read it there and you can answer it. And we will draw that competition on next week's program. So you've got a whole week. So if you're watching live on YouTube on Channel 31, or if you're watching like on delays right throughout the week, don't worry. You have until next Tuesday to enter that competition. We're not going to fly you to Melbourne, I'm afraid. You're going to have to make your own way here. But when we come back after this break, talking about Australian champions, we're going to catch up with the one and only Mark Webber. Also, we have some live music from Sarah C, and you're going to love that. That's coming up in just a moment. This is In Pit Lane. We'll be right back. Thank you for that, Brian. That's much appreciated.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. And what we might get you to do is we might get you to...
not walk away.
Not walk away. Yeah, don't walk away.
We are on.
We are on. So Phil, the reason you're here is you have something. A member of your family is celebrating a milestone, and you want to use the miracle that is YouTube to for a personal message, which is an incredible waste of natural resources. But anyway, Phil, go ahead.
Happy 75th birthday, Dad.
There you are. That's it. Happy 75th birthday to there you go. He's finished.
I should have gotten a haircut, mustache trim and stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Don't worry. Never mind.
It was a special occasion and
It
everything.
was a special occasion. Everything.
I better go back to the auto.
If you could go back to the auto queue now, Phil, we'd really appreciate it. We can do the rest of this program. Ladies and gentlemen, Philip Taylor has not left the building, but he has left the set. So there you are. So happy. What's your dad's name, Phil? John. Happy birthday, John, from all of us here at In Pit Lane. Thank you for Phil. And on behalf of the YouTube community, by the way, if you are watching on YouTube, Phil does in fact have his own YouTube channel. It's called Dangerously Talented, and if you haven't seen it, you will be amazed at why it's called Dangerously Talented. But it is indeed both dangerous and talented. Put together, they're a potent combination. We've got 6 minutes in the next segment. Phil is just telling me that we've got 6 minutes in the next segment, so I suppose we might as well jump to the next segment because we've got lots to get through. So let's do that now.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
Then yellow and green and pink. Oh, no, good hello, everybody. Look, I think from memory, we first spoke to Mark Webber on In Pit Lane back in about 1999. At that time, Mark was an ambitious young Australian driver with a dream to one day race in Formula One. Well, since then, we've spoken to Mark on many occasions, and he's not only achieved his goal of driving in F1, but also he won 9 Grands Prix along the way. Last year, he picked up a World Endurance Championship, but at Fuji in Japan last Thursday, Mark announced his decision to retire from full-time motorsport. At Fuji, Mark spoke about his decision with FIA World Endurance Championship pit lane reporter Louise Beckett.
Comes to every sportsman and women's career, obviously, then they feel the time's right to hang up the professional side of the sport, and that's come for me now. So I've had a great career. I've really enjoyed the people I've worked with. It's been a privilege, been an honour to have been associated with so many great people and brands, and still am. But in terms of the cockpit side, I think I've got other priorities now, and the focus is. It's hard to do this job, half pregnant, especially with your teammates and with testing and all the things that go on behind the scenes. It's not fair for me to keep peeling away my energy levels in that sense. So made the difficult but also very straightforward call in, I have to do it like that because it's the only way I operate. You have to do it properly or not at all. And very happy with how it's gone down in terms of, it's been very, very touching. The people have been in touch and a lot of fellow competitors and people that obviously I look up to, and they've been keeping an eye on my career obviously over the years as well. And, it's gone very well, and time goes quick, really, really quick. And, my parents are not getting any younger. The people that obviously I love being with and all of our personal lives move along, so you've got to take all that into account, and looking forward to the break. I grew up on the farm, and I grew up commentating to myself under my helmet that maybe one day I will race overseas, and I had those dreams when I was, as I say, just got my leg over the top of a small motorbike, so I would watch TV, I would watch F1, I would watch my heroes on motorbikes, and I would aspire one day to try to do something like them and race on the hardest tracks in the world against the most ferocious competitors. And you just, the whole thing is virtually in fast forward. Once it starts to go, then it just happens so quick. And as I say, you just work with great people, you race against tough competitors, you learn so much about yourself, both privately and professionally. And that's what sport does to people. And it is a drug. It is an absolute, direct drug into the vein that is not going to be easy to give up. But you have to. And I'm healthy. As I say, it's great to spend time with the people that I've been with. And I think that the ambitions that you have as a youngster, the desire and passion is very, very important to try to follow the dream through, and that seemed to work out okay for me.
Yes, so one of the nice guys of the sport, Mark Webber, and if you want to see that interview in full, head to the FIA WEC's YouTube channel as well. It's worth watching. So it goes for about 10 minutes. Really, really good interview. And thanks to the guys at WEC for letting us use that footage. Look, that's all we've got time for this week. Hope we'll see you next week when we preview the return of Nitro Funny Cars to Melbourne's Calder Park. We'll also preview the Australian radio-controlled car titles, and they're coming up in a couple of weeks' time as well. But taking us out tonight is Sarah C. And you can see Sarah C, I just got that, at Lalagon Street Festival this Sunday at 5 p.m. But tonight she takes us out with My Safety. So until we see you next week on In Pit Lane, from all of us here, it's bye for now. And here's Sarah C with My Safety. Good night.
If you leave my side and I won't fall if you're thinking of walking out of me. Why don't you stop all that talking, turn your back and start to walking? That's what you said to me, what you said to me. When you're looking for me later, I'll be putting pen to paper, setting my love free. It's the same old story. Why do we fight when it's love we need? Yeah, I won't try anymore if you're not willing to be my safety. No, no. Turn your blind eye so your feelings can hide, and tell your white lie so that you can make it disappear. Why do you keep criticizing when it's you hypocrisizing? You do it perfectly, oh so perfectly. When you're looking for me later, I'll be putting pen to paper, setting my love free. It's the same old story now. Why do we fight when it's love we need? Yeah, I won't try anymore if you're not willing to be my safety. No, my safety, my safety. Oh, my safety, oh, my safety, oh, my safety. Not willing to be my safety. Safety. No, 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 no. Not willing to be my safety.
Okay, we're for people on YouTube, as you see, we haven't gone away because just while the song was playing, we've had a result through from the appeal, the Bathurst appeal. The judicial panel have dismissed the appeal by 888 submitted by 888 Race Engineering in relation to the incident at Bathurst. So the appeal has been dismissed. Full details will be released in writing in about 14 days' time. Now, there is still an opportunity for 888, if they so wish, to appeal this, and I've just realised that I've taken my microphone off. So there we are. I don't know if you've heard that. Yes, we're just saying that the appeal has been dismissed for the Bathurst 1000, and the appeal will be, the details will be given in 14 days. Basically, 888 do now have the option, if they wish, of going out and appealing to the FIA directly. So no word at this stage whether they will actually do that. I would somehow doubt it, but who knows? They might. Anyway, thanks a lot. That was something that came up during the song as I was playing the song by Sarah. Wasn't Sarah C good? we've had some really great music. Look, thanks for people watching us on YouTube. This was a bit of a bonus of dubious quality, but nonetheless, it's first with the latest news, well, second with the latest news here on In Pit Lane. So until we see you next week on YouTube, remember, subscribe, like, say something nice about us, and we'll see you next week. Until then, good night.